Episode 233. How about my place?
Well?
Henry took up his fork and picked up some meat. He chewed and said,
When you become a woman and finish all the plastic surgeries, we can see if I'm blind at the time. What if you're lucky? You shameless man. Look at my face. Do I need to have any plastic surgeries? Do I?
Drake pointed at his face and asked gloomily. Henry held the bottle of beer for a long time, before he nodded seriously.
Very much so.
Drake sadly said,
I'm not going to get love. Then go die. But I haven't married a girl yet. Forget it. There are not many girls who are that confused in this world. Can't you comfort me?
Well... Henry also realized that he may have been too mean. He hesitated and said,
In fact, there are a lot of women in this world who haven't met you yet, and once they will, maybe their confusion will wave off.
Drake, hearing that, almost wanted to hug Henry, but didn't. Serena and Mary were both laughing hard. Looking at the two guys, the girls exchanged a look. After the meal, people quickly parted ways. Serena and Jake and Mary and Jackson left after a while, but Drake and Henry stayed back to drink their woes. Henry was feeling suddenly supportive towards Drake and wanted to comfort him. He patted Drake on the shoulder, full of sympathy on his drunken face.
Both of us being strangers here, both of us stranded, and an olive branch grows out of the wall.
Henry couldn't help but smile.
Have you read any books? You think you're a genius to know some ancient references? I also knew these when I was in elementary school. Tell me something, though. Have you never had a girlfriend for 27 years? No. I really suspect that you are gay. Stay away from me,
he said, reaching out and pushing him away. Drake approached him again, standing on his toes and putting an arm around his shoulder.
And I suspect that you are gay. You're so handsome. Why don't you have a girlfriend? So you are finally admitting that I'm better looking than you? A little bit. See, I told you. You've not answered my question yet.
Henry was silent. He took a long sip from his beer bottle and looked at Drake.
Well, there is a girl. I have loved her for 8 years. And she does not like you? No, I didn't tell her.
Henry looked into the distance.
She's so innocent that she's a little dumb. If I don't say it, if I don't spell it out for her, she won't understand.
Drake listened to him intently and then said,
I know you think it's a bit impossible to understand, but do you really think I'm blind?
Henry gave him a confused look.
You like Jake's wife, right? The girl you've loved for 8 years is Serena, right?
Henry was shocked.
How do you know? Come on, I'm not blind. There's an underlying vibe between you two. Of course, she looks at you like a friend, but you look at her in a way that friends don't. The only person you are concerned about is her. Everything starts from her and ends on her for you. It is really evident.
Henry sighed.
I'm used to it, and it's always been this way. She used to say that I'm her best friend. I am sorry.
Drake sympathized with him.
Why didn't you tell her? Maybe if you did, she would have chosen you.
Hearing that, Henry was dazed and immediately smiled bitterly.
My family's not very well off. I thought that I would pursue her after having my own career. However, I didn't expect it. She got married so quickly.
Drake was more sympathetic towards him, patting his shoulder.
It's not because you were too slow, but because Captain Robinson was too fast. He directly asked Jake to marry her before he was even ready to get married. Not your fault.
The two men drank their woes, till Drake checked his watch and saw the time.
Well, it is very late. I think I will go home.
Drake waved at him, reached into his trouser pocket and suddenly stopped. Henry saw his reaction. "What happened?" Drake was searching all his pockets, and then he said in an upset tone, "I don't seem to have my keys." Henry looked at the time. It was already past 2 a.m. "How will you go home then? I don't think you'll find a locksmith at this hour. Do you want to come to my place? Stay for the night?" "Go to your house?" "Well, just as a thank you for letting me stay last time." Let's go." Drake walked over to Henry and both put their coats on and prepared to leave. It wasn't very far from the Grand Palace Hotel, so they decided to walk rather than taking a cab. It was a crisp night, and the cold air on their face felt good. As soon as he entered the door, Drake was amazed. A shoe cabinet was at the door. Sneakers, sandals, loafers, and slip-on shoes were neatly kept on the racks. The racks were clean. When he walked further inside, the white sofa was as clean as new. A bowl of a fruit and a laptop were placed on the coffee table. The white dining table was covered with an elegant tablecloth. There was even a vase in the center of the tablecloth, with 2 green roses in it, looking and smelling fresh. On the wall of the living room, there were framed photos. Henry, Serena, his working partners, and some old pictures when he was in school uniforms. Mary was also in it. After walking around, Drake entered the kitchen and found that almost the entire place was spotless. All the utensils in the kitchen were buckled on the shelf. He opened the refrigerator, got himself a bottle of Coke and took a sip. Walking out, he claimed, "Hey, is this a man's home? Do you live alone?" "Yeah." Henry saw his expression and gave him back the clothes from last time. "Do you think everyone lives in a dog's den?" Drake took them, smelled the fragrance on the clothes, and had a complicated look on his face. "Compared to yours, mine is really a dog's den." They were not even comparable. Henry raised his eyebrows as if saying, "Of course." Then he said, "I'm going to clean up a room for you. Go shower first." "Excellent." Drake finally experienced the pleasure of being a guest. But when he was about to enter the bathroom, an urgent reminder suddenly popped on his phone. Warning, prey in the trap. Reel in. Drake raised his eyebrows and muttered to himself, "It's finally here." He shouted, "Henry, I need to use your computer." "Okay, just don't go through my stuff and touch anything." Getting his approval, Drake immediately turned on the computer and entered the trap that he had already set for that person. About 10 minutes later, Drake downloaded all the information and sent it to Jake before he gave him a call. It was already 3 o'clock in the morning, and Jake seemed to have fallen asleep. It took him a while to answer the call. Drake quickly said, "Last time you asked me to find Michael Cox, remember?" Jake was originally sleepy, but he suddenly became wide awake. "Found him?" "Yes. He finally used that card, and I just captured his position in San Francisco, USA. If this is the case, then black out all his available funds and let the news go out." "So soon?" Drake was surprised. "Well, she is pregnant, so I don't want there to be any accidents. The earlier I deal with the Cox family, the sooner I can get peace of mind." Although the Cox family was already in pieces, it would be too risky to keep Michael Cox at large. Instead of reacting passively, it was better to take the initiative. You could control the whole situation smoothly, only if you started with a strong hand, Jake thought. Knowing him well, Drake nodded and did not argue. "Got it. Leave it to me." "Good work." Jake said the last sentence, hung up, and snuck back into the room quietly. Sound asleep, Serena vaguely knew it was him, and threw an arm around him unconsciously, her breathing still even and steady. He smiled and reached out to pull the hair on her forehead away. She had become completely accustomed to his existence. That was nice.